What do you do when you're on a giant ship, and you see a storm on the horizon? You do two things at once. First, you use all your power to try and steer the ship away from the worst of the storm. But second, and just as importantly, you start preparing the ship to weather the winds you know you can't avoid. You batten down the hatches, secure the cargo, and check the lifeboats. For decades, the conversation about climate change has focused almost entirely on that first action, steering the ship. We call this mitigation, cutting our carbon emissions with things like renewable energy and electric vehicles. And that work is more critical than ever. But today, we're going to talk about the other, equally crucial job. We're going to talk about battening down the hatches. In the world of climate science, this is called adaptation. It's the story of how we prepare for the changes that are no longer on the horizon, but are already here. This isn't a story of defeat, it's a story of human ingenuity and resilience. Let's be clear. Because of the greenhouse gases we've already put into the atmosphere, a certain amount of climate change is already locked in. We're already experiencing more intense heat waves, more extreme rainfall, and rising sea levels. Adaptation isn't about giving up on the fight. It's about being smart and realistic about the world we now live in. It's about protecting our communities, our infrastructure, and our way of life. So, what does this battening down the hatches actually look like? Let's explore some of the brilliant strategies being deployed around the world. First up is the water challenge, which is really two challenges: too much water and too little. Let's start with too much water. When a massive rainstorm hits a traditional city, it's like pouring water onto a giant parking lot. The concrete and asphalt can't absorb it, so it floods streets and overwhelms drains. The adaptation strategy here is incredible. It's the idea of a sponge city. Instead of fighting the water, sponge cities are designed to welcome it. They replace hard, impermeable surfaces with things that absorb water like a natural sponge. We're talking about green roofs covered in plants, pavements you can literally pour water through, and beautiful urban parks that double as temporary wetlands during a storm. Cities like Rotterdam have even built water squares that are basketball courts and amphitheaters on sunny days, but are designed to fill up and hold floodwater during a downpour. It's a genius way to turn a problem into a community asset. On the flip side, too little water, or drought, is a huge problem. Here, adaptation is about getting smarter with every single drop. Farmers are using advanced technology to monitor soil moisture precisely, delivering water directly to the roots of plants through hyper-efficient drip irrigation. Scientists are also developing new strains of crops like corn and wheat that are naturally more resistant to drought, ensuring we can still feed the world even in a drier climate. Next, let's talk about the heat challenge. Cities are getting hotter. All that dark asphalt and concrete creates what's known as the urban heat island effect, making cities several degrees hotter than the surrounding countryside. The adaptation strategies here are surprisingly simple and elegant. One of the most effective? Just use a lighter color. Cities around the world have started cool roof programs, painting rooftops with a reflective white coating. It acts like changing from a black shirt to a white shirt on a sunny day, reflecting the sun's heat back into space and dramatically lowering building temperatures. The other key strategy is to plant more trees. A leafy tree is a natural air conditioner. It provides shade, and it also cools the air around it through a process called evapotranspiration. It's like giving our cities a lighter shirt and a leafy hat, simple changes that make a huge difference in surviving dangerous heat waves. Finally, there's the coastal challenge. With sea levels rising, how do we protect our coastal cities? For centuries, our only answer was to build massive, concrete seawalls. A brute force approach. But the new strategy is to learn from nature's own 3 billion-year-old engineering degree. This is the idea of living shorelines. Instead of building a concrete wall, communities are restoring the natural coastal defenses that have always been there. This means planting mangrove forests, which are incredible at absorbing wave energy. It means rebuilding oyster reefs, which act as natural, self-repairing breakwaters. These living systems not only provide better protection than a wall in many cases, but they also support wildlife and improve water quality. So, let's bring it all back to our ship. The work of adaptation is some of the most hopeful and creative work happening in the world today. It's about being pragmatic, resilient, and incredibly smart. We absolutely must keep steering the ship with everything we have. Reducing our emissions is the only way to avoid the worst of the storm. But we must also be wise enough to prepare for the waves we know are coming. The story of climate change is not just about the challenges we face. It's also about our incredible capacity to innovate and to adapt. The future won't just be defined by what we stop doing, but by the smart, resilient, and beautiful things we choose to build.